What's up everyone, five-time Formula Drift champion James Deane here and driver of the Ford Mustang RTR in Formula Drift. Yeah, so suspension dynamics have changed drastically compared to when I first started drifting. You know, when I started, I remember my first drift car, like my first S chassis, we just had whatever coilovers we could get. You know, the main thing was to set your ride height. And I actually remember I was using my brother's old coilovers on the front of my car, and one of them was like leaking, and the car would bounce if you hit like a big bump, but I didn't have the budget or money to afford anything better at the time. So the main thing was like having the car looking nice stance, and on the rears we had a totally different set of coilovers on the rear. And yeah, times have changed drastically. You know, now we're arriving to tracks, we have suspension for the wet, we have suspension for the dry, different spring rates for different tracks, and also so many notes from every different track to wherever we travel to. So, you know, now it's like a full-on race team. Like, suspension is an absolute vital part of maximizing your speed and grip and, you know, drivability of any chassis. And comparing to where we started, it's come on crazy amounts. Yeah, if I was to pick a track in FD that requires the most out of your suspension and demands a lot, I would have to say it's probably Englishtown, New Jersey, because you're going through multiple different surface changes, so you're trying to find a grip level to go from, you know, asphalt to concrete back to asphalt again, and that's only one side of the issue and challenge there, because also on the second turn when you're coming back around the big long sweeping left, it's insanely bumpy. So, you know, you want your car to be fast, but you don't want to be like hitting the bump stop every single time. So you're really tuning and trying to find your spring rate and damping settings to ride those bumps as smoothly as possible, so you can keep the weight on the tires as evenly as possible to try to maximize your speed. So that is definitely one of the most challenging places to get the setup right. But once you get it right, it's yeah, you're gonna pull a gap in your opponent for sure. Yeah, I feel like the suspension setup in Drift Masters, when you compare it to FD, is quite a lot different, and the main reason why is the tire situation. So in Drift Masters, the tire regulations are kind of a lot stricter than they are at Drift Masters, and Drift Masters allows us to run a much softer compound rubber, which means that we're not relying on the mechanical grip, all of the mechanical grip out of the chassis, but you're still going really fast. So you have to tune your suspension in a different way, where you're trying to keep all tires on the ground, because the rear tires have so much grip in Drift Masters. If we were to run our FD suspension setup, you would have almost no front steering, because the car would be trying to jump and lift tires off the ground all the time. So they both require very different things, but it's really enjoyable having the challenge of working with different suspension setup and tires in Formula Drift versus Drift Masters with our European Ford Mustang RTR. So thinking back, driving a Mustang in Formula Drift, and one of the most memorable moments I've had where a suspension change has caused a drastic effect in a positive direction, I would say, is coming off the bank in Orlando. So a couple of years ago, it was very, you know, abrupt coming from the oval to the infield, and you would be almost feeling like you're breaking your back in the seat when the car compresses, bottoms out, hits the diff off the ground. So we made a couple of spring changes and damping settings, high speed and rebound, and we just got the car to ride that like area really smoothly, which meant I was way more comfortable behind the wheel, and also the car wasn't like really unsettled and kept the momentum going through the infield. So I think like that's one of the most memorable moments I've had, where we were definitely having an issue and we were able to fix it by making changes to the suspension. Yeah, so I feel like a very common mistake with people building drift cars is, there's a few things, but One is they go all out on their engine setup and they forget about how the car is going to feel on the track. So forget about putting good suspension in the car, you know, make sure that it drives consistently, something adjustable that you can tune to your liking when you're getting seat time to get the most out of your own driving capabilities and what the car can actually do. And also, like, people just go all in and forget about trying to have a reliable car so you can just keep doing laps. So having quality products is very important, so you can just keep doing laps and laps and laps and get better as a driver by doing as many laps as possible.